absolute pleasure to be here with you. It is a Wednesday afternoon here in the East Coast. It is February 23rd. And now these things are a town hall. So the town hall, it has a couple stages. In the first stage, the founders and the team members and some of our guests will just kind of give you updates. In the second stage, people that have asked questions throughout the entire week, we've compiled those questions, and those will be asking us, or we'll be answering those questions. And then third, it'll just be open Q&A for everybody. So this is Agrode. I'm one of the founders. I'm the CEO. And then I'd like to introduce Matt. Matt, can you say hello?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff going on. So super excited town hall today. And yeah, our plan is just to keep the exciting stuff going, as much as we can into the future.
Sweet. So Matt is our Chief Product Officer, formerly our Chief Technology Officer, but he's a guy that's helping us to craft all the products that we're working on. And we're certainly going to be hearing from him later. We're joined today by Liam. Liam, do you want to go give a heads up as to who you are and just say hi?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Liam Richader, Director of Marketing or Director of Growth over here at Splinterlands. Just really making sure that all of our news is getting out into the hemisphere and that we're helping to keep this company growing.
Sweet. And Nate?
Yeah, my name is Nate. Howdy. I'm a creative director. I'm responsible for just overseeing the overall creative direction, whether that's front end UX UI or animation or art or stories, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, the very first thing I'd like to do, I invited two guilds to be on today. One is Unbound Nation, which is a new guild that's going to be entering into the Splinterlands ecosystem. And one is YGG, who's kind of the OG and been here forever. So please welcome Philip. Philip is from Unbound Nation. Philip, why don't we take a couple minutes and just talk about who you are, what you're doing, and what is your guild and what's the vision for it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm super thrilled to be here. We started Unbound Nation in November last year, and just like most guilds do these days, started at an Axie Infinity. We scaled the guild up to 1,100 scholars in December, and then we looked at the market for a few months, and because we wanted to diversify out of Axie at some point, and looked at different games, analyzed most of them very closely, and because we were looking for a game that is mature, that requires a lot of skill, and because we think that that's what makes the game ultimately fun, the ambition to master a game. So we ended up here at Splinterlands, talked to Agrode a couple of times now. Talked to a few guys on the team, and I'm super thrilled to be here. We think this is a great environment for guilds and for our community to thrive in and to hone their skills.
Why did you end up making a guild? What was your rationale for starting it?
Yeah, so we have three guys from Germany, and when we came across Axie, we were super thrilled about the fact that it provides equal opportunity for people who grow up in places that are not as fortunate as like people who were born in Europe, such as myself, or the States, or in other places. So we were very thrilled to start building a community around that. And as soon as we noticed that there's a lot of people that want to get into this space, that want to play, that love playing, and that can make an income from it as well, we realized that there's a lot more than just Axie, and our ambition is at some point to, or sooner this year, to transition from just being a guild into a bigger gaming DAO.
And what do you think the advantage of will be as a DAO? Why will players like that, or how will you differentiate yourself from the other guilds that are out there and the other gaming DAOs that are out there?
So I think players like, or just the community likes DAOs because there is an aspect of contributing to the DAO. and to decisions that are being made, and the DAO usually enables you to the guild to grow much faster, and we really believe in this social aspect of it. So I think this is where we stand out a bit, because we build an ecosystem for our players. It's not just, come in and play the game. We provide everything around it. We want players to grow, to get better, to hone the skills, but we also help them with their real life stuff. So if they want, a lot of them are students, so we provide for tuition for some of them, psychological support and all of that. So that's where the name comes from. We really see ourselves as becoming some kind of a nation, where it's more than playing games that we all love.
Awesome. All right. So what's your ambitions for today? Like, I think, you want to like talk to some players and get some involvement from the community. What are you looking for from the players, and how, what would you look forward to, how you interact with the community, or what do you need?
Yeah, so as I just said, we are thrilled. What we love about Splinterlands is that it's a game that's tough to master. And what we are looking for is some support. If there's anyone around here who loves to build the guild of the Splinter, that's part of our guild from scratch, and help with strategy, with ideas how we can build the community around the game. And all of these things, help us select cards, etc. That'd be very much appreciated.
All right. So you heard it, Mavs. If there's some folks that want to go help a new guild get started here, PhilippH or PhilippH is the guy to kind of talk to. What's the best way to get in touch with you? Do you want it through Discord? Is there an email, a website? How should folks get in touch?
Best is, I think, Twitter. So that's at Unbound Nation IO, or you could reach out to us. Well, you could always DM me via Discord. So you see me here. So it's PhilippH #6728, and yeah, I guess these are the two ways.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, that was Philip. Philip, thanks for being on. And maybe you want to stick around for just a second, because I'm going to go check in with YGG, and they've been around for a while. So actually, Knight, are you there?
Hey, Edgar. Yep.
Hey, it's great to hear your voice again. Unbound Nation's here, and they're just now starting to get into Splinterlands, and you've been running kind of the Splinterlands sub DAO for YGG for a bit. Do you have any advice for a new guild coming in, and what you would say to them, or how you would suggest that they any tips for a new group coming into Splinterlands?
Yeah. Well, first off, welcome to the Unbound Nation. It's always exciting to see more. I'll call it alliances. I think of the alliance as like an affiliation of guilds, because there's guild only I guess can hold like 30 people in Splinterlands. So I see if you're going to grow to any size, you're going to be an alliance. I'd say try to identify your leads early, since they're going to be really the key to your long-term success. The people who are going to run your different sub-entities within Splinterlands. Find out what they like, how they want to approach things, because really, I guess the success at any scale is going to be dependent on their buy-in and participation.
Awesome. That's some good feedback. All right. Do you want to kind of update us on YGG? It's been a little bit since we heard from you guys. So how's the sub DAO? Where are you guys at? What are you building? What are you doing? I saw a post that YGG has $26 million of, I think, just Axie under management. That's all pretty exciting.
Yeah. So I mean, the parent guild is still very Axie focused, but YGG SPL is humming along. So we've got 16 affiliated Splinterlands guilds and about 200-ish players playing. I guess over the last few months, we raised community funds to, I guess the best way to put it would be buy out kind of the majority share and the permission to govern the YGG assets, which we're now doing. So YGG SPL is really kind of like the entity within Splinterlands that currently there's some other sub DAOs that may eventually enter as well, but I think they'd actually be doing so separately. So that's kind of interesting. We may actually be in competition with other parts of YGG at some point. But I guess we're our flagship event right now. Every Saturday, we run a community weekend challenge. It's a live stream tournament. All of the prizes are community donated. I think we try to reward the top 100 players, so there's lots of room. We're also going to be opening all of our Untamed packs pretty soon. We passed a governance proposal to do that, so I think we're going to be doing maybe 1,000 a week or something until we get those all open.
That's fun.
That'll be exciting.
Make sure you live stream that. There's going to be a lot of people that are itching for God, legendary.
Yeah. I think it may actually be at the weekend challenge or attached to the front or the end of it. I think that's the plan right now. But so the centerpiece of YGG's holdings are really our land, and we're much heavier on the land side than on the card side. So we're going to be extremely dependent on the community to bring their collections to bear to make this land productive. So I expect that those relationships will be pretty generous. We have enough such that basically right now every single one of our guilds could manage a tract and still room for a few more. So we're actually going into a very big recruiting blitz right now. Some of our higher end silver guilds are trying to move up to gold tier, maybe even arena 2-star. So we're actually heavily recruiting right now. So if you're a gold tier player or have a pretty good sized collection, maybe you don't have land but are interested in getting access to land, there's come talk to us. We're looking for you.
Sweet. Any other news? Anything else that you want to put in there?
Yeah, one thing kind of upcoming in probably in the next 2 weeks. So if you happen to have been a person who's minted a YGG guild badge, which it's an Ethereum NFT, they're actually kind of pricey gas wise because minting anything on Ethereum is pricey. If you have one, you'll be entitled to buy into the next round of the SubDAO token sale, which will probably be running here in the next couple of weeks. This is basically the chance to get a share into this SubDAO and the eventual earnings of all of our assets. So if you don't, there will be a public sale, some way down the line. But if you've got a badge, stay tuned.
That sounds pretty awesome. Okay. Well, YGG, thanks for being here. Philip, thanks for being here. You're certainly welcome to hang out and chime in if you want. You're free to go. But I don't know. It's awesome that YGG was one of the original guilds to come in, basically the original guild to come in. Really appreciate you guys being here, and thanks for taking a kind stance and giving some good feedback to Philip in terms of how to get started and isolate your people that are going to lead the parts of the projects early. I think that's all good advice. I'm going to switch gears to something that I know that this community is dying to talk about. So sorry that I made you wait 15 minutes, but I don't know if you guys saw this, but we just had a big announcement go out, and it's with Warner Music Group. And Splinterlands and Warner Music Group are going to work together to go make a game. Now, I imagine that there are a variety of questions around that. A lot of people are excited about that. A lot of people are worried about that. I, for one, am freaking just stoked. I've been working on this thing for months. Somebody from Warner Music Group should be here next week to go talk to us and just kind of talk through their vision of this. We are looking at more than one product and thinking through how can we get additional games out into the ecosystem. And I'm pretty excited for that. But I think the real concern for the players is how is this going to I think Jarvie was I could understand how this helps Splinterlands, but I want to know how this helps the community. So, all of the commercial terms are not quite settled yet. So I don't want to go into specific detail. I have definitely learned that from Matt that we don't talk about final details until everything's ready to go. But, I think the plan is to try to figure out a variety of ways to incentivize the music fans and the Splinterlands players to get involved with these games and have a financial incentive to do so. And I'll kind of leave it broadly at that. But the big picture, I'm thrilled. They have 20% market share of music. And music, I don't know if you know, that is still a gigantic industry with many megastars. They have Atlantic Records and Warner Music Group is a label as well. but Atlantic is like one of the biggest hip hop art labels that exists. So I don't know. It's pretty exciting to think through, that partnership and the kind of audience that they can point towards us. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. Liam, I know you worked on that a bunch. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that partnership?
No, I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. We don't want to speak too early and out of place here, but the chats that we've been having internally are super exciting. It's cool to see that we're starting to kind of converse with some artists, and everything's going super well that side. So I'm just stoked. Is really kind of what I'm summating here. Otherwise, you covered everything.
All right.
I could add a couple words.
Yeah, go for it, Matt. How are you thinking about the economics of this, or what do you, what are your big picture thoughts, and what would you say to the guys that are excited about why they should be and why that makes sense, and for the people that are nervous, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, really, it comes down to like Agrod said, like we're in the early phases of working out all the details of what exactly this will be. But I think everyone should be clear that our goal in life is to bring as much value to Splinterlands and Splinterlands assets, which then means to Splinterlands players in the community, as humanly possible. So really, like, there's this opportunity. Warner Music wanted to work with us. I think we mentioned like it's going to be some new game products, right? Because it's a very different audience that Warner Music has, and I think a game like Splinterlands isn't the best fit. It's also very complicated and involved. So I think we're looking at more simpler style games with them. But ultimately, as far as we are concerned, the whole goal, at least in my mind, all the time, is like, how can we use this to help bring value to everyone here who helped us get to this point to be able to do things like this. And we don't have exactly the details of how that's going to work, but when it came down to, do we just say no to a partner like Warner Music because it would be a separate product than Splinterlands, or do we say yes and we work with them and we figure out how to bring value from that platform that and players and the audience that they're bringing in, and bring that into Splinterland? How can we use Splinterland's assets and incorporate them? All these things. I mean, everything is pretty much on the table at this point. And ultimately, for me, it was a no-brainer. Like, let's take this opportunity and bring it into the Splinterlands universe, rather than, if they didn't work with us, they would have worked with someone else. And then, that would have been totally not an option that Splinterlands assets or players would get any value out of it. So yeah, I know everyone wants the exact details of like how this will work, how Splinterlands things will be incorporated. And the answer is we just don't know yet. But I hope that you guys trust that our goal is always to bring as much value as possible to the Splinterlands assets and community, and we're going to figure out how to do that here with a huge new partner.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to talk about is that we're looking to like hire people on for this. So like one of the things that Matt was like extremely clear on, maybe quite vocal about, was like, you're not going to go cannibalize any of our existing people to go work on this. Like, this has to be an entirely separate org. This has to be entirely separate people that we're bringing on to go make this project, because we're not going to sacrifice or slow down anything in Splinterlands to make this happen. So, and I agree with it. I did everything I could to work with the teams and work with the organization that we have to say, we're prioritizing not messing with any of the Splinterlands product teams and making those things operate as efficiently as possible, and not get pulled into like whatever random shiny thing that I might find. Like, keep them locked and loaded and just moving in the right direction simply on Splinterlands. And let's build out some additional teams that can start looking for other stuff. So, does that sound right to you, Matt? Is that?
Yeah, no, that's a good point to bring up, and I think it was mentioned in the post. Like, yeah, it's not like, okay, everyone's dropping what we're doing on Splinterlands and working on a new thing. No, everyone we brought on is working on all the Splinterlands projects that we've been talking about. That nothing's changed, and we're just expanding our team to also take on any new opportunities.
Yeah. So those are. I know you guys are looking for more details, and maybe we'll get some more clarity when I have another meeting with Warner on Thursday, and I'm hopefully getting closer to finalizing more of these details. And we'll see where this goes. But ultimately, like, the people are the value, and all I really care about is getting more people into this ecosystem. And Warner, through their artists, through their labels, through all the years that they've been here, have built and aggregated a giant community and a giant fan base. And if we can help capture some of that into play to earn games and this ecosystem, I think it'll end up being a giant win for all of us. And I think we can do it without compromising the Splinterlands things that we're doing. Now, Nate, you're doing a lot of like Splinterlands stuff in here. It has I know at the beginning we took some resources for doing, like, getting the pitch out for this. But once that pitch has gone out, are you seeing like a ton of your resources diverted to Warner? Do you feel like are we already on track for keeping things moving in the right direction and not disturbing the existing creatives and the existing developers, or have we been screwing that up already?
No, I think that things have been surprisingly, everything's been fine. Everything's been running in parallel. And what a lot of people have to remember is, I mean, we went 3 years where Matt was doing like the majority or half of the coding, and I was trying to do all the, the creative, the UX, the UI, and the art and the animation, all this stuff. And it's like, and somehow, we've grown tremendously since then. And even then, as we build up this huge company and all these dedicated resources, and we're saying, okay, you're focused on Splinterlands, you're focused on this, you're focusing on that. I would say, like, yeah, we're in a really good position, and we're still hiring. So as we hire, we'll be looking at creatives and saying, okay, you're Splinterlands, or you're on this product team, or you're doing this stuff. We're in a good place, and I don't think anyone needs to be worried about. We're astronomically larger than we have been in the last 3 years. We're in a really good position to take on new projects and run in parallel. And like it's already been mentioned, we're also adding more product teams and more people and saying, hey, you're just this, or you're just that. So as we do that, I think it's just going to boil down to onboarding, training them, getting them familiar with blockchain and NFT, and letting them see what they can produce. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. So I've been working on for the past 2 weeks, really trying to get in place, like, how our development is gonna happen. What's our process? How are our teams, designed and aligned? And we did a pretty big overhaul to basically fit having all these more people. So now we have a variety of departments. The creative department, the marketing department. We have the development. I'm working on getting sort of like a data team up and running. Maybe a business development team. I'm not sure that we need it just yet, but that's something too. And then having all these product teams, and having the product teams really be able to go focus on specific parts, so that we have Homestead is leading one of the product teams for Splinterlands. Matt's got his validator project team. So really, like, having people dedicated to only certain projects, not getting pulled in a million different directions, being able to focus and just build in these very very focused ways. Like Matt was telling me, he basically was pulling out his hair, being like, I have to work on 60 different things, and you're driving me insane. And it's like, nope. Well, now we can put different teams on different projects and leave those teams alone to just kind of like finish their work. So I think we're aligned to be better set to work in these product team like organization. And then what we can do is bring in additional product teams, because I want to keep building more games, and I do want to keep providing incentives to the people that own Splinterlands assets, and in each one of these different games or different ecosystems, we're going to have to go figure out how to go, like, merge into what we're doing or bring value to the Splinterlands players. But more games, more stuff, more people coming in. I think it's only going to help this team, help this game, help this ecosystem, help this platform, and I'm excited for it. Weirdbeard, in your like music and talk show career, have you had much interaction with Warner before?
So when I was an on-air DJ in Philadelphia, I did a night show with Wiz Khalifa's DJ, who is signed to Atlantic but used to be Warner. And yes, like long story short, I've had to do a whole bunch of interactions with them and their entire promotional team. And like what people don't understand is even when an artist isn't signed to Warner, Warner has many labels underneath its umbrella. So it's a lot of subsidiaries and a lot of people that you may not even like first have spring to mind about. And they're one of the like, when I say Walmart, I don't say it derogatorily. I mean, like they literally have access to almost anybody you can name. Like I saw the jokes about Wu-Tang Clan, but it's literally Wu-Tang Clan. You know what I mean? Like it's there's a lot of force there and kind of like soft power, right? Like for the artists that they have in their roster is just it's really crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Atlantic. Atlantic is Warner Music is owns Atlantic, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't immediately spring to mind where you go, oh, who's a Warner artist? But then you're like, oh wait, it's this label and this label and this label and this label.
So speaking of, we got Waka, and that's coming out tomorrow. Anybody want to kind of like chime in and talk about Waka Flocka and Waka Spiritblade?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to it from a marketing side. I'm sure Nate has a lot to say from the art side too, and the art team did such a good job with those. Like looking at all the promotional pieces, looking at the actual art itself for it, I was blown away. But Waka himself was great to work with. I mean, his team, his management team, Loke as well, who helped with a lot of the AR side of things, were all super great to work with. And I know there's a lot of people kind of up in arms as either kind of too expensive or whatever else there. But just know that there's also the other kind of flip side to this, guys, where there's a huge marketing play here. So we've talked about the whole bridge between mainstream and kind of blockchain gaming or crypto previously. These are the steps that we take to get those audiences from the mainstream more interested in blockchain. So even though, unfortunately, this isn't going to be offered to absolutely everyone, just know that this is huge for the community. It's going to be huge for the game. And similar to a lot of these kind of other projects like Warner, it's going to give us a ton of exposure as a project itself.
Yeah, and I think we're still looking for that. You know, we can be number one on DApp radar all day long, but we still need a lot more people. We still need a lot more, community members interacting. We need more folks in Discord, more folks in Telegram, just a bigger community. And like, that's not, we can keep grinding that out one person at a time. And we do, we keep growing the user base, but I think it's going to be a lot faster if we can go do that in leaps and bounds rather than one piece at a time. So those are sort of like the big things on my radar. Are there general things that Liam, Nate, Weirdbeard, or Matt, you guys want to talk about?
I would just say that, like when we talk about these huge deals and huge partnerships and all this, I don't think the community fully grasps or understands that Splinterlands is so well positioned. Like, and it could speak to Agrod's talent as a super sales guy, or Liam's marketing savvy. But when I'm in on some of these calls, and like take Warner for instance, and you got this video call full of all these people representing all of these world-renowned international music labels and record companies, because Warner Music Group is that big. There's just there's all these people representing all these labels. So and there's like no resistance. There's no like, we got to convince these guys. They're like all over this. They're like, yeah, let's do this. What about this idea? Yeah. What about that idea? Yeah. It's like we're just getting yes on all these calls. All these people are coming to Splinterlands and saying, teach us, help us. We want what you have. And it's like it's incredible. It's absolutely mind-bogglingly incredible. So and once those deals happen and those integrations take place, take Waka for instance, because that's right in front of us right now. That's happening tomorrow. That's thrilling. Like to see it happening right before our eyes. This is a history in the making, guys. So I'm excited to share. The creative team was like, you know what, this deserves its own lore. And I think Daniel was on last town hall, who is one of the narrative designers who wrote what we're releasing tomorrow for the Waka story. But it's pretty inspiring. It's pretty cool that it's not just, hey, let's see if we can smash this character in and force it into the Splinterlands world. The narrative team really knocked it out of the park and really made sure that it's an immersive storytelling, that it fits, that it works, that this character is just like holistically blending in with the whole fantasy world that we've built up to this point. So I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. That'll be out tomorrow afternoon. In fact, I'll give you a sneak peek. Let me see. I think I have a peek. Here's an illustration on the story. This is from Matt from Poland, who has recently been promoted to lead artist, and he's just doing a phenomenal job. But this is one of his illustrations for the story. And then I don't want to ignore.
Hey, Majewski.
No, and it's pretty cool, the mythos that we're bringing to the Splinterlands with this new character. So and then you guys have let me think. Last week was a story about. It's funny when you see the title of the story, you're like, okay, this guy's from Britain. Whoever wrote this, that was Daniel who wrote this story. But in America, we look at that word, it's like, what is that? And I had to go on Google and look up how to pronounce it, and it's just jailer. So they just spell it differently. But there's the story. Sorry, I put it down, and and another sneak peek for those you don't want to click on it right away. I mean, the artwork for that story is pretty dark. So, but I'm derailing now. Bottom line is, I'm excited about these collaborations, and the community should be too. It's pretty crazy stuff.
Awesome.
I should talk, a little quickly about tomorrow. I know that I haven't been working specifically on the Waka release. We have a bunch of our other developers doing it. But I know a lot of people are concerned about being able to get the card and bots buying up all of it and whatever. As we talked about in the past, there were a lot of, limitations and restrictions for this particular card promotion and how we were able to do it. So we're kind of doing the best we can within those restrictions, which includes like not being able to do a lottery or things like that. But we have been taking a bunch of efforts to, hide the mechanism for purchasing the card ahead of time so that there won't be bots all ready to go to like buy up a bunch of cards before everyone else. Our goal is to make it so that the way to buy the card is through the game website, which when the timer it counts down tomorrow, it should just automatically switch over to the buying option. And we've done a lot of work around making sure that like everyone using the website should have a reasonably equal opportunity to get the card, and there won't be like a whole bunch of like bot sniping or anything like that. And ultimately we'll have to see how it goes, and obviously this will be a learning experience for other future promotions that we plan to do, and we do plan to do lots of future promotions, and they may all be different in how they work or what they are or all that stuff. They will probably always include and require vouchers. But yeah, a lot of people have been asking questions about that, so I just wanted to mention, use the website. It should automatically switch over when the counter goes down, and we hope that everyone doing that and on at the time will have a reasonable opportunity to get the card.
Now, do you also want to go chime in on where you're at with validators, or where the team is at on validators? Because it's no longer just Matt. It's like a team. We got teams. We're advancing as a company.
I mean, over the past few weeks, a big theme has been like, how do we organize things better? We have all these new people that have come on really quickly, and it got a bit disorganized. So, kudos mostly to Hardpoint as usual for that organization. But we've organized, the resources we have into teams working on specific projects. So one of the biggest issues with SPS validators was that I've kind of been the primary person on it. With help from others here and there, and I keep getting pulled into all sorts of other different things, and it's not moving along as fast as we would like. So, now starting this week, there is a team that includes 3 other developers that are going to be working on the validator nodes with me, with the goal of getting them out as quickly as we can. I mean, there'll be a little bit of extra time for me to work with them and kind of get them up to speed on what's already been built and how that works, but the hope is that, not only is it done faster, but then we also have more people who are able to continue it and maintain it going forward.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, stoked for the team, stoked for having new product owners, stoked for having Hardpoint to help put these teams together, and Alicia and like our whole leadership team is doing a really nice job of bringing people on and finding a good place so that everybody is getting utilized to their fullest. I think it's awesome. Liam, any updates that you want to give that we haven't kind of spoken through yet?
I think those are the big ones for me this week. We're still kind of trucking along with everything else on the marketing side for more the traditional side of things, whether that's ads or PR and everything else. But one thing that we are going to be trying to do a lot more, and there'll be some posts by me probably in the next week or so, is I want to make sure that we're really getting representation in the physical aspect for people all around the globe right now. So if you guys want to do any parties, whether that's LAN parties or tournaments or even just like a Splinterlands get together, please reach out to me. Just DM me. We're going to help sponsor a lot of those things. We'll help expense a lot of it. So if you want to start your own little Splinterlands club in your area or whatever else, let me know. We want to get that going.
Yeah, colleges. If you're at a college, like there's like a college program that we want to work with, right?
Yeah, so we're talking to Arcade Arena right now, which is a kind of program that runs with colleges in both the Philippines as well as North America. They've partnered with 300 plus different colleges and universities, and what that's looking like right now is the talks are shaping up to have Splinterlands hopefully be a bit of an esport, or at least a bit of a tournament kind of challenge or whatever else circuit going on within all those different colleges. So super exciting to see. Talks are still ongoing there, but the early stage talks are how do we get a small little circuit going in the meantime, and then hold a bigger tournament for all of them.
Sweet. Yeah, I love the idea of like encouraging as much live partying and getting together. Like if you guys want to start getting together and having some pizzas on us and put together a couple tournaments on us. As long as you guys are bringing new players into the fold and documenting it and showing new faces, and I'd be stoked to have this stuff happen. I think it'll be awesome. So what I want to do for the last kind of part of the show, I know Weirdbeard probably wants to go talk tournaments for a bit, so let's do that. And then we have 2 new folks at the company, Drewlongshot and 16-bit. So why don't we start? Weirdbeard, why don't you talk a bit about the tournament restructuring that we've done and where we're at for that, how that's gone, and then when that's over, Drewlongshot, why don't you prep to come on?
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody finally getting back into tournaments that we released last week on Friday. There have been plenty of discussions. If you have not joined the tournaments kind of like channel here in Discord, please do that because it's very active, full of people that love to yell at me, and I welcome you into the fray as well. We saw a lot of minor tweaks, but again, I like to always emphasize it's like establishing a baseline, right, of tweaking CP and SPS requirements in order to get into the different tournaments. Not to mention, we also added in a brand new format. We called it the noob format. It's spelled with 2 O's because we're real, like sticklers on how to spell noob.
No, it's 2 zeros.
That's what I meant. I meant zeros, not like lowercase o. So it's N00B. And those are really going to have low CP, low SPS requirements to really try to drive new players into the tournament ecosystem, right? We want people to feel comfortable, like not giving up a whole bunch of, stuff when you first join the game, to try to understand what are tournaments, do I like them, how do they work, what is even going on here. So there's a new bronze and a new novice that you can enter into right now. One of the other big things that we're really doing by establishing these kind of like floors right now is tracking data moving forward of how our changes correlate to both player entries, to prize distributions, what kind of people are entering into tournaments, and like how competitive their decks are. It's a lot of like micro changes at the same time, because we have to be able to track every change. If we change everything at the same time, we can't attribute certain, reactions to what changes we made. So, like that's a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm really excited. We have some internal things that I've been teasing within the tournaments channel here in Discord. If you've seen me yell back at people, a lot of it is what we have on the horizon in the next 2, 3, 4 months. I can't say anything publicly. I keep saying that. But one of the big things that I do encourage people that I continue to do, my calendar link is always available in our tournament discussions. And that's because the number one thing that I do here is not make tournament decisions based on what I want to do, but it's from literally probably 2 to 3 hours every day of trying to reach out to different players, to people in guilds, to people that are new players, people that have been playing since the beginning. We want to hear from everybody and understand the different experiences that come from it, right? Like, I can't play in every tournament. I don't know all the pain points everybody has. But my goal here is to hopefully be able to hear from everybody and synthesize those into the best tournaments that we can have.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to sneak one thing in before we go to the new guys.
Yeah.
Matt has some has a little eye candy for everybody. Matt, do you want to go talk about the new reward card?
Not reward card, airdrop card. So
Airdrop card, sorry.
There's all this like stuff going on that's really exciting, and like, so I just have this boring new airdrop card stats to
Hold on, people are going to get pretty excited for this.
Yeah, no, that was hopefully a sarcastic comment, but
Okay.
yeah, but hopefully, yeah, everyone wants to see the new Carnage Titan stats. When we'll be releasing, the full post with all the details. But it will be, as we, have kind of said in the past, it'll be 525 packs to get a guaranteed airdrop card, which is 25 more than the last one, and they should be going up by 25 for each card in the future. And since we don't have a lot of time, I will just drop the stats in here. So you guys can take a look. I think it's a super interesting, fun card. It's a reach monster with double strike and shield. He is, I would say, his weakness is probably to magic. But yeah, he can be really fun in that second spot, doing a whole bunch of melee damage. But watch out for thorns and amplify and all those other type of things.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage to the face every round. And he looks a little slow. That's my one concern. He looks a little slow, but whatever. He looks like a great off tank. That guy's awesome.
That's all I got.
Just to support that, I will give you guys a wallpaper with that guy. There you go.
That's looking great. Okay, so I'm excited for this. Let's go bring on Drewlongshot. So Drew, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. So I've known Drew. You and I were camp counselors together back at the age of 18, and I'm
That's
42.
true.
So what is that? 24 years?
Yeah,
I
24
think
years.
that's 24 years. So I've known Drew for 24 years. Do you want to give a little bit about your background and like what it is that you do and why you're here, or what's exciting about being here, and maybe tell folks about not only what you do but what you're currently learning to do as well?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I went to grad school here in Boston, where I got my graduate degree in accounting, and I also got my master's of business administration here in Boston. And I've recently joined Splinterlands to help them get through some accounting stuff. I won't talk about that too much because everyone absolutely loves accounting. It's really, really just as thrilling as your art that you just revealed. But what I will say is that it is really exciting to be part of this business and this community. I think there's a lot of potential and room for growth in this industry, and that's thanks to your community of players. It's really, really cool to be involved in a business that can, in a way, if you will, give back to a community of people where we help you and you help us. So we've seen a lot of growth in the numbers. I think there's a lot of potential in the future. And from an accounting standpoint, a lot of this, crypto stuff is very cutting edge as well. There's a lot of stuff to learn and to figure out. So it's, our department is growing. I'm working with another person as well. And but that's my background. So I spent a number of years working at Ernst & Young, which is a Big Four accounting firm. And then I spent the last about 7 years of my life working with a television and radio station here in Boston. It's called WGBH. We make most of the radio and television programs that you will see on your local public broadcasting station. And currently, I am involved in a coding bootcamp, actually. So I joined this app called Career Karma. I've networked with a lot of people. And I just think I like to tinker. I think technology is very, very cool. I'm very curious to learn more about blockchain. So I decided to join a coding bootcamp. I just deployed my third project where I developed a Stack Overflow clone with a team of people using React and deployed it on Heroku. And man, it's been a lot of fun to learn stuff like that. Definitely a noob in terms of coding, but I think there's a lot of potential there in terms of knowledge and like how to apply it in different ways. So I'm very excited to be here, and I won't let you down, Agrod.
Oh, thanks, bud. I'm not actually worried about that at all. Do you think there's a lot of overlap between accounting and coding, just in terms of like attention to detail, forms, math?
Oh yeah,
What do you think?
absolutely. Absolutely. So they're similar in the way that like just as coding is very, very deep. There's 1,000 different things to know, and it's always changing. Accounting is very similar in that way where, if you were to read through the guidance, you would probably be bored to tears. It'd be really confusing. And it's very, very deep. No single person can know it all. But what is similar is that you need to be able to figure things out, be able to do the math, and like at the end of the day, can you arrive at a result and get output that is, correct? And I think what the real overlap and the potential for overlap is in terms of efficiencies. As the world becomes more digital, as we move towards global economies and remote working, there are a lot of articles out there that says that like no matter what your job is, the more that you know about coding, the better you'll be able to do your job. If you spend all your days typing in 1,000 numbers just over and over again, how much more easier would your job be if you could just code an API and just pull that data from somewhere else and just say multiply every single one by 5, and that's your number. So I think it's really fun to tinker like that, and I do think there's a lot of opportunity for like building efficiencies and like bridging gaps between knowledge and actually doing something, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like back in the like Renaissance era or maybe the Middle Ages, it was like if you were the learned clergy, that was your ticket to, you either had to be like some major merchant or you had to be in the clergy to really have some kind of sphere of influence. And now it's sort of like accountants, doctors, attorneys, and developers are kind of like my top tranche of like the new clergy. Not that they're religious in that respect, but that kind of like ability to assert power within a culture. I think devs is like going to be not only now but moving into the future, one of like the most important roles in our society. And I think
as Splinterlands gets bigger too, like you need, unfortunately, our society has lots of rules and regs, right? And you don't want to be on the wrong side of any of that. You want to dot your I's, cross your T's, and you keep the government and all the powers, happy.
yeah, I don't know that you'll ever keep them happy. They always seem to want more, but yeah, I agree, and I'm excited to have you here. It's good to have somebody in finance that I've known for a long time, that I trust, that has like a phenomenal background. Ernst & Young is no joke as a company, and I appreciate you being here. Appreciate spending some time with us, and excited to have people that know some code and that might be able to start thinking through, what parts of our accounting are we automating to make us as efficient as possible, sort of eating our own dog food, or getting data to our players, or thinking through some of the finances in the games. Like just having, Drew is a big time gamer, and I think having that experience on the team of gamer who's like definitely like exploring blockchain and knowing some code, and comes with the graduate degree, and I don't know. I think it's a great fit. I'm glad you're here, and thanks for going on this journey with us. It's awesome. Okay, that was Drewlongshot. And now another guy I want to introduce you to. I haven't known him quite for 24 years. This is 16-bit. 16-bit. Do you want to go introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So 16-bit, aka John. I'm the new VP of Sales, and I've been here for all of 2.5 days. So still trying to figure out where the bathrooms are, but once I get in and kind of feel my way around a little bit, I'll have a lot better sense for what's going on. But yeah, very excited to be here. There's a lot of things to be excited about, and Egred reached out to me back in, like November, I think, talking about what this opportunity could be, and helping me to understand what Splinterlands is really doing, sort of this confluence of gaming and cryptocurrency and digital ownership. It's all very fascinating to me, especially with my growing fascination around decentralized finance and blockchain technology in general. So that was very attractive to me. Then through the process, ended up talking to Matt a little bit too, and he said something that really struck me, that he actually mentioned a little bit earlier here in the town hall as well, about sort of this genuine notion of wanting to push value back out into the community. And he said it kind of flips the old model on its head a little bit. This idea that our existence and our goal is to push value back out to the community of Splinterlands, and eventually additional communities that might come to Warner Music and others. But to me, I think that's really important. And I've always found success in sales when I started finding a lot of success in sales when I started to realize that I'm not selling stuff. What I'm doing is I'm identifying a product or a service or community or something that I believe in, and a mission that I feel like I can get behind, and then evangelizing that. And so that's what I intend to do here as well. So the belief in this community, Splinterlands is doing, and blockchain technology and all of that, that's all kind of built in, that's hardwired. And excited to kind of leverage that and figure out what the best pathways are. There are some clear pathways to where I think that I can help add to the community and build into the community. That's through trying to identify and talk to more gaming guilds, and helping to set up communities, local communities, live communities, various cities across the country, and those sorts of things. But there's a lot of greenfield out there, and for all of you who are here and excited enough about Splinterlands to spend the time that you do in it, and to spend the time to come to something like a town hall, it's about evangelizing how you feel about place and making sure that others are aware of it as well. So really excited about that. You know, it's going to take a little bit of time for me to really dig in and deeply understand all aspects. There's a lot going on, as you can tell. But yeah, excited for the process. I think the process is going to be a lot of fun. But
That's great. So there's already 2 people in the room that you should start getting to know. That's Philip and Knight. These 2 guys have been running guilds, and you know what? To me, I really think my brain always comes back to people are the value, and I want to get as many people into this ecosystem as I possibly can. And the guilds are great because they're already out there recruiting and organizing and building and buying assets. They're basically like, you know, the perfect customer because they're not just representing themselves, they're representing this entire ecosystem. And when I think through of like how I want to grow this place, you know, you can grind it out player by player, but it's a lot faster if you grind it out guild by guild. And so, you know, we've had some success, especially with the volume discounts and doing some like new guild discounts to get people in. And I think having John here to go focused on that full time, you know, I think that's a way that, you know, for the business will hopefully earn some money, and that'll be good for us, and we can grow and do more projects and other things. But for the community, I hope that you guys are stoked because it means that we have somebody here that's focused, you know, just on bringing in, you know, these big customers that have, you know, thousands of scholars, or that they, you know, discords with 80,000 people in it already. And if we can keep bringing these guys in, you know, it's just a ton of new players, a ton of excitement, a ton of opportunity for everybody here. Because, you know, just the more people that are in here, the more valuable our assets are, and the more exciting it can be. So,
yeah, I actually see in the chat somebody made mention that it's not easy to find a guild. I figured that out in my 2.5 days. So if anybody knows, you know, we're going to be talking internally about some different things that we can do. There's not a whole lot I can mention directly now, but if you have some thoughts and ideas, hit me up. I'd love to hear them. I need to get to know the space really well. Knight, Philip, I hope you guys don't mind. I'd love to reach out to you and learn from you, to be honest. But yeah, and just a little bit about my background. Egrid, we both came from education technology. Of course, I was just in education technology last week. It's been a little while for Egrid, but we used to have a lot of fun together out there. Hoping to sort of reincarnate that here. And if anybody's interested, you could try to convince him to reveal his Russian accent. He's got quite a good one.
I haven't done so much of that on air, but yeah, I took Russian 1 in college. Maybe I even made it to Russian 2. I don't quite remember. But my mother like loved sounds and just saying words. There was like a Ricky Tiki Tembo, no Sir Rembo. And she had these little phrases and things that she would hang on to. And I really like the way that like the Russian language has like a totally different way that you put emphasis on syllables, so that when you're like speaking, it just sounds so different because of the way that you're pronouncing words. So really big fan of that. And then it's fun to sort of like just do random Russian accents as you're wandering around talking to professors. A lot of life in sales is about, you know, trying to make sure that you are entertained yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm not doing it, Ron. Ron's trying to force me into my Russian accent, but I don't know. We're not going there yet. It's too testy right now with everything all Russia and Ukraine. I'm not going to go like, somebody's going to start complaining I'm a Russian agent if I start doing these things. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that, by the way, that is pure coincidence. Current events mixed with my comment and revealing a hidden talent here. So
revealing that he's actually KGB. KGB confirmed. All right, guys. Well, John, I'm excited to have you here. I really think that getting the emphasis on the guilds is going to be like, I think it's going to be huge for the business, for the community, and honestly, the guilds need stuff like this. You know, like the guilds are all. I've just been approached by so many guilds being like, "Hey, we're trying to diversify outside of Axie," And there are a bunch of new games, but there's not a lot of stuff that, like, honestly, I think will scale all that well. And so if you really want to try to get lots and lots of players in, there's not that many choices for you. So I think having you here and having a focus on that and driving some sales, but also just like helping these guys get situated. Like Philip earlier was asking me, what tools are there and how do we make managing this easy? And having a direct line of feedback between what I think of as our power users, who are the guilds are like managing, if not dozens, maybe even hundreds of accounts. Like, what does it take to do that? And how do we make it as easy as possible for them to manage that? And I think having somebody constantly be the liaison and like the single like primary point of contact, that won't just help the guilds, it will help the guilds, but I think it'll help players and it'll help our features. And, honestly, we just want to make it, like my number one sales rule is if you want somebody to do something, you have to make it as easy as humanly possible for them to do it. And that should be like, you guys should all take that to the bank and put that in your closet, because that works in life and marriage and in parenting and everything. If you want somebody to do something, you should really make it as easy as humanly possible for them to do it. And so I think if you can, listen to the wisdom of Knight, who's been here forever, and thinking through what their guild and their DAO needs to do to be able to operate here as well as they can. And if you start working with Philip to figure out, what tools, what procedures, what features, what buttons do you need to make your life easy, I think it will make every subsequent decision that much easier to go bring in the next guild. So, and that's what I'm trusting you to do, because I know that you have the mentality, the background, the history, the story to be really patient, to listen, and then be able to provide feedback to whole teams of people to make this stuff better. Okay. Well, thank you to 16-bit. Thank you to Drewlongshot. Glad to have both of you guys here. I guess we should round this out. I don't know if there's any kind of last thoughts you guys want, from tournaments to Waka to Warner. Is there anything remaining on your guys' brain that you want to kind of get out there and talk about before we go into questions?
I'm good for questions.
All righty. Well, there we go. So here, Reality versus Model, or RVM, has already pulled out a bunch of questions for us. It's actually not that bad. It's only 2 pages of questions, so it looks like we're going to get like just a ton of time with like current live questions and what you guys want to have answered. So let's go do this. So SBS and vouchers. For major NFT releases going forward, will they only be attainable with SBS and vouchers?
I mean, everyone's going to be different, and I can't say what they will all be, except that we plan for every promotion that we do to require vouchers in some way.
All right, here are 2 potion questions. Are we ever going to get mystery potions back? And is there any mechanism to get quest potions back?
Mystery potions, probably not, but we are looking at like new kinds of potions to add back into the game. And as far as quest potions are concerned, we kind of mentioned in previous town halls, we are working on kind of an overhaul of the ranked reward system, which includes how quests work. And that, I think, will also include the revival of the quest potion and possibly additional potions. So we're not going to go do that until we kind of revamp how that stuff works.
Alrighty, we got 4 Warner Music Group questions. Will there be benefits to owning Splinterlands assets for the games being made for the artists and for Warner? So basically, does it help you to own Splinterlands assets in regards to the Warner Music game?
Well, so again, we talked about this earlier. Like we haven't decided all this stuff. We haven't figured out exactly how all that is going to work, but it is going to be our goal that Splinterlands assets will be involved in any way, shape, or form that we can make them involved. If they're not directly in the games, potentially there will be airdrops or other things. I don't know how that's all going to shake out yet, and part of it's working with Warner to see what they want to do, and if there's any restrictions or anything like that. But our goal of bringing this in was, Warner's gonna build blockchain games with somebody, and if it's with us, then we have the opportunity to make that a benefit for Splinterlands players, versus if it was with someone else, then we wouldn't. So I can't answer any of the specifics because we don't know it yet, but only that is our goal, to make sure that Splinterlands players and community benefits massively from this.
All right. So that leads into the next one. What benefits or improvements do you think will come to the Splinterlands game and community from this Warner partnership? Like, what's the best? What do you think the best outcomes are that we might achieve, or like what benefits will the players here experience because we're doing this?
Well, I mean, one potential option is, some type of utility or use or value to existing Splinterlands assets in these new products. Some other options are, as we're building a relationship with Warner and we're working with them, perhaps there will be some artists who are more interested in something like Splinterlands than the more casual games I think we're looking at building with them. And it'll just be much easier if we're already working with them to say, hey, let's do this specific thing within Splinterlands. I don't know what all that's going to be like, but if we are already have a relationship with them and are working with them, we can do that. If we have anything in Splinterlands that maybe, we can co-promote with them or anything, that will be something we can easily just reach out and talk to them about. So, again, I don't know exactly, but, between the two options, which is don't work with them at all, or work with them and figure out how to do it, I think the latter was the best option.
If I could just add something on that real quick, is one of the other things too is that people in this community are very, very attuned and okay with the conversations surrounding NFTs, cryptos, a lot, you know what I mean? A lot of these other things. There's a whole slew of people out there in the world that like either A, have no idea what crypto or NFTs are, or are just very put off by the generalized conversations that happen about it. Being involved with a lot of these larger names adds power and familiarity, and when you associate your brand with that, it makes it much easier to be able to have conversations with normal people. If I'm talking to my mother who's in her 70s, and I go, Mom, the liquidity pool's on the dip, and she just tunes out. She has no idea what's happening. But if I go, Mom, Ed Sheeran did this, she goes, oh my God, I love Ed Sheeran. And then she just buys into whatever I'm talking about. Like, it's again very much a game of not just what you do, but like, who are you seen with? Who, you know what I mean? Like, who do people associate you with when they think of you? And if they associate us with like AAA artists, that's an automatic brand win overall.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to culture, right? We want this to be a cool game, and like, how do you make something cool, especially something as nerdy as trading cards, right? How do we get cool? And I think associating with mainstream artists that are popular and have, maybe not Nickelback, but a variety of other good artists, people that don't get picked on all the time, like it. I think the more that we can do that, the cooler our image will become. And that's part of why I like to associating with Imagine Dragons, is that it's one of the coolest brands that exists in the world, and they're fantasy themed, and that's really awesome. So
yeah, even at a bare minimum, I'd say, if we're building games with Warner and their separate products, we'll also sort of have exclusive rights to advertise to that audience within that environment. So the whole idea is really just to bring as many people into this space as possible in kind of a simple, fun way. So just like casual, simple games. They can, people can start creating a cryptocurrency wallet. They can start earning crypto and NFTs and start learning about it. And then it can be like, bam, here you want more than just this Candy Crush style thing, or whatever it is. why don't you try Splinterlands? It won't be, why don't you try Axie Infinity or what other game it is, because we're the ones working on it and building it with Warner. So even at a very bare minimum, it's just like a way to start getting more people into Splinterlands, through this, and it's like a less of a big ask of them, like Agrib was saying, make it as easy for them to do. And you're like, hey, here's Splinterlands, and there's all these different tokens and things, and you got to markets and the game, you got to rank cards and buy cards, and it's complicated and all this stuff. Like, here's some people just are like, this is too much for me, right? A lot of people, I would say. So here's like a more, hey, play this kind of match 3 game, right? Sponsored, and promoted by artists, and like, and then as people get into that, and some subset of that will be looking for more, and getting interested in this space, and then bam, here's Splinterlands as the first place we can send them to, and it should be, a lot of it will be a familiar experience, and an easy transition. So I mean, I would say like that's a bare minimum of how we think this can directly benefit Splinterlands, and then plus all the other potential ideas that we're going to be working through in the near future.
Yep. Make us cool, point their users to us to grow this ecosystem. That's what I think will help us. All right. What kind of games will the Warner Music Group partnership create? Will it be a game per artist, or more like a Warner game with artists in the in-game assets? So we're currently talking about 2 different games. One is a music production, promotion, and performance game, and one is like a very casual game. And we would hire like 2 additional teams to go work on those. So those are the 2 different types of games. And then will it be a game per artist? Nate has been very much against that from the beginning. So we'll see. We can't figure out what it's going to be just yet. But I think we gotta work together to figure out, okay, how many artists are interested in working with us. So they're literally like taking game ideas from us, pitching them to their artists, and then we got to see, how many of you guys actually want to build something, and that can kind of help us determine, how many products do we need. I dragged you into this, Nate. Any comments you want to add?
I think it's too early to get into the finer details, but yeah, there's definitely pros and cons everywhere you turn. So as we navigate the waters of this deal and the terms and what we end up doing, I'm sure it'll all make sense.
Will the Warner Music Group games run on the Hive blockchain? Matt, do you want to talk about the validators and how this might kind of come and play together? Or?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, so what I was talking about, like everything that we're building for SPS validators, and the ability to have like an open source code base that anyone can run and independently verify and all that stuff. We're planning to also use that same methodology, that same concept for any future things that we do. So in a way, that's sort of like it'll be like our own little blockchain, which uses the Hive blockchain for the transactions and the accounts and the security. That being said, the Hive blockchain is a lesser known blockchain, to say the least. And some of these groups have been talking, and doing their own research and learning about other platforms and things. So I can't guarantee that Warner Music Group or other things we do will still be on the Hive blockchain. But one of the things that they really like about what we're doing is the kind of ease of use aspect and the user friendliness aspect. They like things like the human readable account names, the different levels of key security, and all the stuff that we've kind of figured out over the last few years for Splinterlands. We're taking that knowledge, and they're working with us because they're saying, hey, you guys have sort of figured a lot of this out, and we don't want to start from scratch. So there hasn't been like 100% decision like what chain it would be on, but I would we already have all this experience and all this work done on the Hive blockchain. So generally that's what we are promoting. That's what we're pushing for. And that's really kind of the benefit of working with us. And I also tell people, because a lot of them read, Warner Music and other groups we talk to, they kind of read up on this space somewhat, and they hear about the popular chains, like Ethereum and Polygon and the things that are happening.
Solana,
Avalanche, whatever. There's a whole bunch. My ultimate thing, when you talk to people like Warner Music, is it shouldn't be important what blockchain the game runs on. Like, that shouldn't be a thing that users really have to know or worry about if they don't want to. Just like when you use Netflix, like, you don't have to know whether it uses Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud or Microsoft or whatever. Like, the blockchain is sort of the technology platform, and the goal is really just to provide an awesome experience with the benefits of blockchain and cryptocurrency, which is player-owned assets and things like that. So we're really pushing, or I at least really push for them to not worry so much about like what blockchain platform it's on, and just worry that they get a good product that does all the things that they want and that the users want. So I don't want to say for sure, but obviously that's where our expertise is at this point in time.
And I really like having utility on Hive, but then going out to other ecosystems for like capital markets. There's so much value on Ethereum. There's so much value on Binance Smart Chain. There's so much value on Solana. Why would we be on one? Like, that's kind of dumb. Like, you build it in one place where everything is cheap and easy, and it's a good place to onboard, and then you make sure that your assets can trade in all of these ecosystems, and it's easy for all these guys to sign in. And
I think that's a really good segue to the next question also.
Could we get an update on the partnership with TerraBlock? This is for Matt.
Yeah, so the integration with TerraBlock is done. And we obviously have the Waka thing for this week, so I think we're looking at next week to release the TerraBlock integration, which means that TerraBlock would be taking over the bridge functionality in the game. So when you want to send dark energy crystals or splinter shards to Binance Smart Chain or Ethereum, or vice versa, send them from Binance Smart Chain or Ethereum back into the game, that will go through TerraBlock's bridge service rather than the one that we run currently on Splinterlands. And I think there's like a whole bunch of benefits for that. One, like, TerraBlock is they do this, as their one of the main things that their company does, versus us, where it's kind of like this little side thing. I think TerraBlock's bridge will work a lot better than ours. Certainly the UI that's coming out for it will be much more clear and show you like all the steps of the process and when your transaction's completed on the other end. They'll be handling all the support for it, and it just frees up a lot of resources on the Splinterlands team to focus on the actual game and not dealing with all these bridge issues. And then on top of that, they already have worked with Polygon, for example. So I think, once we get the initial bridges running, it should be pretty easy to then, have SPS and DEC tokens available on Polygon. And then again, since this is their bread and butter, they're going to be working, to integrate with other chains like Solana and Avalanche or whoever it is. And then since they're already integrated with Splinterlands, it should be kind of like a flick of a switch type deal to get our tokens on those chains and then get the bridge working back and forth. So it's part of what Agrid was just talking about. Like, even if our game runs on the Hive blockchain, we want our assets to be available everywhere. I look at it as like our assets are our product, and all these different blockchains and platforms and marketplaces are stores, and we just want to get our products out to as many stores as possible. And then it doesn't really matter, what core blockchain it runs on under the hood. Like, if you're a Solana guy and you love Solana and know all about that, then fine, you can trade Splinterlands assets there and just bring them into the game if you want to use them in the game, or vice versa. So that's kind of our like pitch and our general goal for the product.
So hey Matt, I noticed that if I go to the TerraBlock website and I click on bridge, Splinterlands SPS is like the default token for that interface. I'm wondering if it'll stay that way. That would be really cool. And the second backup question to that would be, do you know, we actually use what I see on the TerraBlock website to actually do anything yet?
Yeah, so currently TerraBlock implemented a bridge for SPS and DEC between Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain directly. So if you want to send them from Ethereum to BSC or vice versa, you can do that currently on TerraBlock's website. So what we're working on integrating for hopefully next week is that you'll also be able to use their service to send it into your game account and back out. And first, it'll only be available through the Splinterlands game website, and then at some point after that, they're going to add it to their website too. And just to add a little more color, TerraBlock is another portfolio company of Blockchain Founders Fund, who we work with closely and is an investor and an advisor. So that's a partnership that came through them, and TerraBlock's a smaller new company trying to enter the DeFi space, and they're really excited to be able to work with a project like Splinterlands and offer a service that thousands of people will be using. So it's I guess that's why it's the default option on their site, and they're just really excited to kind of do whatever kind of work or custom things that we need for Splinterlands and for the players. So it's really good from that perspective.
Sweet. Waka Spiritblade. For the Waka card, Poison seems a pretty overpowered ability to give for a 3 mana cost summoner. Feels like a harder to counter Mylor. Do you feel like it will mess with gameplay?
Possibly. I mean, we always do our best to design cards. Our goal is to make cards that feel overpowered. They feel like they're really good, so people want them, but that don't actually cause an issue in the game. And that's a really hard line to get. And that's something I learned from I think his name is Ben Brody, who is the designer of Hearthstone, where he's like, a lot of people that design games, their instinct, they're always worried about cards being overpowered, and so they kind of make all of or items or whatever being overpowered, so they kind of make everything boring, and that makes for a really boring and uninteresting game. So there's a fine line where you want things that like seem really powerful and exciting, but obviously you don't want something that wins every match. And I think we have a benefit in the different rule sets where obviously in something like Noxious Fumes, you probably wouldn't want to use the Waka card as just a quick example. But then also, we've kind of taken the approach where if there turn out to be things that are clearly overpowered and are a problem, rather than having to go in and nerf the cards, to use the technical term, we always are able to introduce new rule sets, new abilities, in the future that kind of add counters to those things. So it is something that we thought about a lot, and I do agree that Poison seems very powerful, which is what we're going for. But for as best as we can tell, we don't think it will be overpowered. But again, we can't. It's almost impossible to know that for sure before the card is released. So if it turns out to be a problem, then we'll figure out what's a good way to deal with it or add counters or anything like that. Aggro.
Sorry, I'm muted. Brawls and tournaments. Could you give an update on allowing reward cards in the tourneys in their proper format?
Yeah, I haven't been really involved in the tournaments and card formats, but obviously with Modern and Wild format, which hopefully will be done and released in sometime in March, then we'll be able to use those formats in tournaments and guild brawls and everything. So there'll be Modern format tournaments that will allow the Modern format reward cards and promo cards like Waka and things like that. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think once it's probably one of the things that once Modern and Wild's done, we can try to put a quick tweak to tournaments in there for all the Modern and Wild phrase, brawls, brackets, tournaments. So I think that's also going to go to this next question of when are you going to give an update on Chaos Legion phrase to the brawls? So yeah, it's just Modern. We got to get Modern and Wild, and we'll update that.
Well, actually, I think Chaos Legion, just adding Chaos Legion phrase is going to happen. I think that's already done, and we're just waiting on the release for that, if I remember correctly. So this week is kind of Waka focused, but I think pretty soon we'll get just adding Chaos Legion for the brawls, and then when Modern and Wild are out, they'll be specifically Modern format brawls.
All right, so for Weirdbeard, the current Silver Shield Knights tournaments is filled with Champion and Diamonds players that evidently paid the higher entry fee to enter and compete. Right now, of the top current 10 players of that tournament, almost half are Champion Diamond League players. Do you think there should be further disincentives to somehow avoid having those tournaments filled with higher league players, or do you think the higher entry fee is enough?
So I mean, the main thing that I really want to state is that the tournaments are not in a closed ecosystem to where we don't see this. Like I'm always shocked when people bring this up and they'll bring it to our attention. And it's not as simple as just flipping a switch, right? Like we can't just say, "Hey, you naughty boys, don't you enter into this tournament." There's some of the solutions that we're working on in the back end that we haven't really been able to announce yet. Will address things like this. I can't say exactly what it is because again, until we have like the full plan for it. But it's to me as a tournament, like as the head of the tournaments, it's less about hey, make it impossible for those players to be able to enter. It's we need to figure out what are the incentives that keep people competing against others of their, I don't want to say skill level, but like of their bracket almost. Again, we have some works and some fixes going on in the background right now that I think are going to address this and should like be pretty nose on with how we go about it. But the big thing that I want to say is like, yes, we acknowledge it. I just want to make sure that we make the correct change, because the knee jerk reaction would be to go, oh, make it so they can't enter. And that's never like my solution, is to gatekeep up or down or make, you know what I mean? Like you don't just kick people out. It's we want to encourage people to be playing at their specific levels. How do we do that and do it equitably so it's not just targeting larger players, and it also doesn't like gate out the lower players at the same time?
All right, here's another one for you. Right now, I feel that SPS and collection power are the main reasons people don't participate in tournaments. How do you plan to reconcile in the future the SPS requirements and your philosophy of I want more players playing in the tournaments? I also want to take this opportunity to thank you for all your hard work and everything you have been doing to try to make tournaments more inclusive. I wonder who wrote that.
Somebody that I paid $5 to.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
First off, I will say I don't agree with the fact that CP and SPS are the main things keeping people out of tournaments. I think it is an absolute roadblock, but I think the largest thing that we face on tournaments, looking over data from our player survey, is that people didn't even know about tournaments, that they learned about them from people like Bulldog, from Clove, from like outside sources, as opposed to being like, oh, hey, Splinterlands, the game itself, told me about these things that are tournaments that are happening right now. Is it a pain point? Totally. But like I talked about earlier here, really we have to set our baseline and kind of use those, I call them levers. We have to use those two levers at different times. We can't change CP and SPS requirements, because if entries go up, we don't go, oh, it's because we did both of those. We want to know, specifically what we did, how it affected people, but then B, how does it change the ecosystem as a whole? CP is a little bit more malleable, just because, again, that was one of the main changes that we rolled out on these tournaments that we saw go live on Friday. But SPS staking as a whole is for the tournament pool, right? So all the tournaments are impacted by that. So you can't just lower SPS requirements on one because it takes away from the overall pool. So it's a little bit more, intricate and complicated there. To sum it up, yes, I don't agree with you, but yes, I agree in the sense that it does stop more people from entering tournaments. The question becomes, how do we do that? And how do we do that so it's not just a knee-jerk like number reaction, right? Because we can fiddle with numbers all day long. That doesn't solve the underlying issue of what is really stopping players and what is the line. Like we have to know how much is too much for SPS staking, how much is too much for CP. Like it's all just kind of understanding and doing those tweaks individually and a little bit over time.
I would also add that that's part of the value we want there to be for the SPS token, right? So we could just say, oh, you don't have to have SPS staked and then lots more people can join. But ideally, it would be like letting people understand the value that there is in being able to join the tournaments, and then maybe they'll be more interested in getting the SPS required, and making people understand that you're not spending the token, you're just buying and holding the token, you're staking it, you're earning returns, you're benefiting if the token price increases, all that stuff. I think a lot of it is almost more of a education problem than necessarily a numbers problem.
Yeah, the other thing too is, we've seen people talk about how like players can enter the game and buy enough CP, and that it's not as easy to just acquire SPS to be able to stake. I think that we have to figure out if they're, the two different play areas. If it's like, do people only want CP? Do people only want SPS? That doesn't mean that it's even a good idea to do one or the other. It's way more of understanding like how do you use those as cattle prods to get people to go into the correct like player level, I guess, of competition, and how you use those as like guiding rails. It's something that's under development. It's something that's being looked at. We're actively like paying very close attention to it and gathering data on it. So any changes that we make to CP or SPS requirements overall for tournaments is not based on like Weirdbeard's gut feeling. I don't just wake up out of a cold sweat in the middle of the night and go, CP needs to be lower. Like, we're going to be doing it based off of like numerical numbers of how many people are entering into tournaments, how competitive are they, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, here's some suggestions and requests. Hardpoint isn't here, so I'm just going to say go to feedback.splinterlands.com. Maybe somebody can put that in chat, but that is probably going to be an answer to many of these. All right, when the season ends and we can't play, etc., everything resets. Can we get some lore or animation story to watch while we wait to play again? I think it would be cool to watch it. And also, thank you guys for all your hard work. Exciting times are among us indeed.
Yeah, that's a feedback one.
Sure.
But I'd be pretty excited about that. I mean, that would be cool. In fact, I was looking at some. We're trying to conceptualize art direction right now as we start to prepare for the next major set. Not to diminish Chaos Legion at all, but we got to plan well in advance for this kind of thing. So as we're conceptualizing art direction for not just background art and character art and all this stuff, what's a really big priority at the forefront of my mind is how well does this art style, this one, support storytelling? Because animation, motion graphics, everything that we want to do, I think that as we evolve as a game from just a card game to land and exploration and everything we want to do and growing the ecosystem, that storytelling is going to be more and more and more important. So again, Matt from Poland, our lead artist, was bringing this concept here. I'll show it with you guys because it's so cool. So it's basically kind of like this, you can easily see that and say, okay, what's the story? What's happening here? It was intended to be a modern format fighter in that particular scene. And, what's happening in that scene and what's going to happen. And you can imagine that thing being animated and coming to life and telling a story. So I would be totally on board with that feedback upvote for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like we need lots more shorts and videos. I'm highly in support of this. Okay, next up. Will Splinterlands enable buying credits or buying packs on mobile iOS?
Eventually, yes. In the meantime, we had way too big of an issue with like fraud and chargebacks on the mobile stores, and they don't have as many, I guess, as much flexibility as we have with things like PayPal. So we weren't able to. But overall, like the mobile app is not something we've like forgotten about. It's just it isn't our highest priority compared to these other things. But overall, we do plan to kind of put together a plan and potentially even a separate whole team just to get the mobile experience really up to where we think it should be, which will include being able to make purchases.
Can we have a sound notification for when the timer's about to run out?
I thought we do, but if there's an issue with it, let us know, or if it's a new thing, add the feedback.
Llama and Yoden.
No, I was going to say we had a UX discussion just recently. We're looking at some of the UI to integrate into the the team building screen. And part of it was because if there's not audio already, definitely, and we're building that thing out. But we hope that sometime soon integrate in the UI a little bar that shrinks and changes color, and then things start shaking and rattling to kind of give you visual and, in this case, audio clues to say that, yeah, you're running out of time. That way you can just focus 100% on building your team and rely on these other elements to remind you of how much time you have left. So definitely, I think that's a great idea.
Llama and Jotun are overpowered and offer a lot of auto wins, which makes them an obvious choice for bots. Would it make sense to raise their mana cost a bit?
So yeah, Llama and Jotun, are definitely potential, I'll say, issues. But one of the interesting things is it's more in lower leagues, and in the higher leagues, they're really not. They don't seem to be overpowered at all, or at least players know how to counter them or deal with them a lot better. So I have a lot of ideas on things we can do with Llama and Jotun that I prefer to avoid nerfing them. But really, I've been trying to wait until the SPS governance is available, and I think that type of thing, to me, is like one of the really good, first tests of SPS governance. Like, let's have some proposals from either the team or community members or whoever, and kind of see if there is some consensus among the players of a good idea to kind of address that issue. So obviously the validators have been taking, and the governance has been taking a lot longer than I initially anticipated. That's just how things go. But I've been trying to wait for that and use that as a good first test case.
Could Splinterlands do anything to simplify, streamline the process of getting money into the game?
Yes, this is a great question. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, how are our efforts going for this in particular?
So this is a huge area that we are trying to focus on, especially as we're trying to do things for Warner Music Group. It needs to be even easier than it is now in Splinterlands to get money into the game and into everything. So, and right now, like I know a whole bunch of people that have been wanting to buy SPS. And significant amounts, and are either new to crypto or not that experienced, and don't know how to do trading on Pancake Swap or whatever, and they're having trouble getting into it. And so I think just making it easier to get these tokens is really going to help everything. So one thing that is live now is the Transact option. So Transact is a third-party service that allows the purchasing of SPS and dark energy crystals using a credit card or a bank transfer. It's currently only available outside of the US. Yes, the US stinks when it comes to this stuff. But that's like a first kind of baby step in the right direction. But ultimately, I've been talking with many different partners that do like fiat to crypto, both in the US and outside. And my goal is to offer, like, when you click on the plus button next to SPS, offer many different options that we'll try to make as simple as possible. Like, you just put in your credit card information or do a bank transfer, and you just get the tokens right in your game account. I think that is just a hugely important thing for Splinterlands and the projects that we do. And it's just, unfortunately, due to regulations, not just in the US and around the world, and the issue of fraud and chargebacks and things, it's not easy. But it is like one of like the main focuses that, at least that I have right now, is like finding different partners that have different ways to make this super easy.
Yep. Here's hoping that those continue to go forward. Could future promos be purchased with staked SPS only, with a week of notice only to players, but have 4x the amount required can participate? I would have tried to buy a Waka, but was unable because I would need more than a week to unstake enough SPS.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we would have been able to announce it earlier than we did to give people more time. But I also just want to be clear that, like, you are still able to buy the card. You may just need to purchase more SPS to do it. So yes, it takes time to unstake, and I can't guarantee we'll always be able to, announce things 4 weeks or more ahead of time. Although we'll try to if possible. So that's something just to keep in mind. And every promotion is going to be different. I mean, this promotion included vouchers and liquid SPS tokens. It doesn't mean that every promotion in the future is going to. But yeah, I mean, we're doing the best we can around that. But again, if you aren't able to power down in time, there is always the option to get more SPS tokens, and then you could even continue powering down and sell your SPS tokens later, to recoup the funds you spent if you wanted. So those are always options.
If you upgrade your guild arena to level 3, which now has a 2-star arena, are you moved to a specific pool of high guilds with the same or higher level arena, or do we just mainly get additional frays?
Yeah, I believe that your guild arena. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think you can choose what level you go in. So if you choose a level 3, or 2-star, whatever it is, you'll only be matched up against guilds that are also in that same level.
All right. Do we plan to expand guilds gameplay, and will the land expansion have a use for guilds?
Yeah, 100%. Guilds hasn't had a lot of updates since launch, and since the Guild Brawls launch, but I think obviously there's the SPS reward pool, which needs to be added into guilds. There's a lot of economic updates that I have in mind to make for guilds and Guild Brawls. And then we absolutely plan to have guilds be an important part of lands. So some people complain right now it's overly expensive to upgrade guilds, and there's not a lot of rewards for doing so. Yes, I agree, and it's something we're absolutely 100% planning on in the future. So you can wait for then, or you can start getting your guild up now, and getting your crowns and getting your merits and all those things, and you'll be more prepared when that stuff drops.
Just thinking of SPS and reward pools or whatnot, how many there were pre-seed or pre-sale investors that were able to purchase? How many more times are they able to redeem or get their pre-seed tokens, or that they become unlocked before that stops? And then,
yeah, I mean, we can just talk about the future of SPS, or are these questions from the chat?
No, that we ran out of that. So I just wanted to go talk a little bit about, how many more unlocks for pre-sale investors are there, and then how many airdrop days are left, and then if you want to talk about anything else for SPS, go right ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll start all this off by saying, we have no control over the market price. I have no idea what the market price of SPS is going to do. We are not trying to give anyone investment advice for buying SPS or not. All we're doing is I just want to let make sure everybody knows what we're planning to do with the token. Our goal is to always add as much utility for it in the game as possible, and then people can make their own decisions based on that. So we had a whole long post about SPS a couple months ago, and the future, like a roadmap post. So a lot of this is just rehashing what was in there. So the majority of the SPS token issuance happens in the first year. And that's between the airdrop, which is over 365 days and is 400 million tokens in total, and the private sale investor distributions. So the private sale investor distributions go for 10 months, which means that April will be the last month. So it's at the end of the month. So we have February still, March and April. So there'll be 3 more private sale investor distributions. A lot of them, hodl. Some of them sell. So there's, sometimes a drop in price towards the end of the month when that goes out. But that will be completely done at the end of April. And then the airdrop, well, you can see we're on airdrop day 212 right now. So there's 153 days left, but it'll be the end of July this year. The airdrop will be done, and that's 1.1 million tokens get airdropped to holders of Splinterlands assets every day. So it's kind of like an astronomical amount of value just given out for free every day to people who just hold Splinterlands assets. Something I just like to focus on, because I think a lot of people miss that when they focus only on price movements. But the point is that is also going to be ending in July. And then the issuance of SPS tokens is going to drop very, very significantly. Obviously, there are still a number of reward pools that need to be added into the game. We are, I think, obviously we have a lot of stuff that we're working on and we're super busy, but, we're also, I think it makes sense to push off adding in some of those reward pools until the airdrop and the private sale investor tokens are done. But even when all those reward pools are added in, it's still far less issuance than is happening right now. So, you can take that for what it is. And then also, we have planned for similar timeframes things like Rift Watchers, which is going to be, we've announced purchasable only and exclusively with SPS tokens. And if you, it's going to be, some many millions of dollars worth to purchase the entire set of packs. And that will all 100% be SPS that will go into the SPS Foundation. It's not dumped on the market or anything like that. So it goes to more value that's controlled by the SPS holders. And then, hopefully that's just one of many, many things that we are going to be doing that will require SPS or vouchers, which is really, sort of a proxy for SPS stake days. So the more promotions we have, we're working with Warner Music Group that may lead to additional promotions specifically in the Splinterlands game, or other things outside of that. Also, all will require vouchers, and if you want vouchers, you need to stake SPS or buy them from someone who has staked SPS. So our goal is just we're going to be constantly putting out more and more utility into the game for the SPS token. And none of that even goes into the governance and the validators. So if you want to have more of a say over what might, what, if anything, might happen to Llama and Yodin, or be able to make proposals, or be able to, choose who the validators are that are, managing the foundation funds and all that stuff, you will need, SPS stake to do that. So, I don't know. It's, these things take time. This stuff isn't going to be out tomorrow, but I think we've been super clear. We published clearly the distribution schedule. We've published all of the things we 100% know we're planning to do already for SPS. And there's a lot more coming, and everyone can do with that what they will.
Okay, that is the end of those questions. So now, anybody that's out there, we're going to go take some questions from folks, and then, and we don't have a lot of time, so we have 10 more minutes. So go ahead and post, and we'll see how much of this stuff we can get through. Where can we find all the Splinter Bytes to read outside of the pre-battle screens? Are those posted anywhere?
That's currently in the midst of a revamp, so that's going to end up on the backlog of the product team that is responsible for quality of life and improvements to the existing features. So once that happens and it's published in the game and you are able to see it, then it's quite possible our narrative lead, who's kind of taken point on that, Joey, who I think I've seen him bouncing around in the town hall chat there. Then I could talk to him about trying to make that accessible for people.
When will we be able to grow a poppy proof and land to have a divine shield or short-term health buff in matches?
I don't know about a poppy proof, but the whole idea of land is you will be creating item and spell cards, which will help you in matches and may do either of those things.
We have a Spiritblade and a Fireblade. Do we have a group of blade monster summoners, or is it elemental splinter based?
It's a question for Nate.
I would say that no. I mean, well, first of all, it's Grum Flameblade, not Fireblade. But second of all, it really the character concepts are made independently. I'm not aware that the narrative team has some design in mind in going ahead and creating some sort of clan of or category of characters with Blade in their name, but it's a fantasy genre. It happens. Who knows? Maybe we could figure something out in the future where that makes a difference.
I dig it. Are there troubleshooting steps to seeing or recovering your missing vouchers sent from Hive Engine to Splinterlands? Put in
yeah, that would need to be a support ticket for that.
Support.splinterlands.com. What's this week's latest accomplishment on land development? There's a couple people that are asking about land. Do you want to add anything about land?
Oh, I didn't know anyone cared about land. You know, I guess we could talk about it. Yeah. The big development is, like I talked about, how there's a new team specifically focused to SPS validators. There is also a team now that has been put together that their 100% focus is going to be on land. So it is like it's just kicked off. There are a bunch of newer people to the organization, but we have had some of our kickoff calls and getting going on what we've already done to date on land, what needs to be done, and getting people started building out phase 1. So the update is that there is a specific team of developers and creatives and others that are now 100% focused on land. So my hope is that in the not too distant future, we'll be seeing some progress from them that we can share.
Questions: are there any plans to have tournaments all day long? For GMT time zone, there are only night and early morning spots. Just those tournament times rotate, and so they'll be at different times throughout. Question: are there any status updates on the validator software? Do you have a latest timeline for that, Matt?
I don't really have a timeline. My timelines keep kind of going out the window, but I mentioned that we have now a full team dedicated to it. So I will be very sad if there's not a test net at least running in March with all that. You also, I think, missed a question from Fat Jimmy.
Oh, sorry, Jimmy. Would Splinterlands ever consider moving out of the U.S. if overregulation becomes a real problem and a major hindrance? I mean, they might even come try to arrest me. You see what happens out in Canada. You go and give a donation to the truckers when it's completely legal, and they go back and they cancel your bank account. Who knows what the governments will do? They're not terribly responsible. So if we have to move, I would move. I don't know what you think, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do what we need to do to keep this going. And ultimately, my goal is that if we have validator nodes, obviously SPS is the beginning, but ultimately we want to have validator nodes for pretty much the entire game. The whole idea of this is that it should be able to run even without us, or without having a specific entity in a specific location. I think we're a little while away from that, but that's like ultimately the goal. So that would be the best if we didn't even have to move or really care about regulation, because we have people independently around the world running the validator nodes for all of the transactions in the game, and potentially even providing front ends and websites from different locations, different people, and things like that.
Matt, what if we want to go live on Splinter Island and splice DNA with frogs or whatever to make real dragons? And what if that's what we want?
I mean,
Nate, I think we have a place reserved for you there.
I am intending to buy Splinter Island at some point, and we'll get some like guest houses or guest apartments and let people that have high SPS balances staked be able to stay there for free. That is on my agenda, my bucket list. Syndicate's asking, when tourneys on mobile? I have a job, sir. We have the mobile team that we're trying to spin up, and I don't know. It's going to be a little bit still. Marjanko, when will we get a big update post on land? As this team gets further along, they'll give you that update. Hopefully sometime in March we'll see something out of them. Maybe it's not the next deployment, but hopefully they're together enough to go communicate what they're doing. When modern phrase and brawls, that Matt was saying that might already be in progress.
Well, Chaos Legion. We're adding Chaos Legion phrase, which they're literally talking about now in our QA testing group. So that should be
Perfect.
out soon. But then when Modern and Wild are released, they'll be like modern format phrase.
Question: when the game goes into maintenance mode, why does a ranked game you're in not draw? Instead, you lose it or you win it randomly when no cards are selected. It should draw every time.
Yeah, that would be nice. I will say that typically when the game goes into maintenance mode, there's some problems happening. So generally, and also like there's a bunch of different servers that run the game, and they all pick up whether or not it's in maintenance mode, at different times. So it's not so easy just to say like, oh, maintenance mode, and make a draw, because so generally the way the battles work are, if one player had, it's not random. It's if one player had submitted their team and the other hasn't, then the one that submitted will win, like as a surrender. So it definitely isn't random, and it's kind of hard for us to like say, oh, we'll make things work a certain way when things aren't working. Obviously, our goal is to not have to go into maintenance mode, as hopefully at all. But it's hard because that means something's wrong.
All right, so let's try to power through these last ones because
I'll go fast.
So, is the timeline for Land and Rift Watcher still on track? That's still stuff that's like Q2, Q3. So it's coming. We're working on it. It's under development, and hopefully we'll update you as we nail down our product roadmaps. Are there any plans to make the attack animations effects better than they are? Yes, Nate works on that frequently. Is it possible to enable Gladius cards and friendly challenges? It's not right now, but that is something that we've thought about. I think that's a good one for feedback.splinterlands.com to prioritize that. Other ones. And then are there reward structure change planned to be released with Wild Modern format update or later?
Probably later, because it's a separate project. I mean, Wild and Modern is already a big project in itself, so those are two separate things.
All right. Hey, do you want to go do your stuff there, Chatter?
Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. So real quick, we have 1 minute left, guys. I got 5 trivia questions for you. It's going to be rapid fire here. This is all going to be based on the trivia lore stuff that we released the other day. So trivia questions from the goaler. What is the name of Seth's pet mouse? Can't talk today. All right, Kyle, you got the first one there. Putting a little reply just so I know who won. Next one. What is Seth's job? All right, Jander won it. We're going to give that to Commander Chaos. Third one. What is the name of the old woman who questions prisoners in the dungeon? All right, Ant Miner. Oh, Hanam got it again. It's 2 weeks in a row. Awesome. Fourth question. What is the goaler's job? Burger coming in with the question on that one. And then lastly, does the female Chaos Knight prisoner end up answering Mistress Valen's questions? JP on it immediately. Perfect. Good quick fire. That was 1 minute, 5 questions.
Hey, wait. Magic might have gotten that first.
Did he? Oh, Magic did get it first. You're right. I'll send a pack to both of you for my mistake there. So awesome. That's trivia for the day. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right. So that's what I got for today. Thanks for listening to the town hall. Thanks for being part of our community. We're trying to ship code as quick as we can. You can see that we're actually working on a lot of different things simultaneously. We're hiring new positions in. We're making big stuff out there. And I think it's going to have a positive impact on our community. It's going to have a positive impact on the things we're working on and the things we're doing. So hang in there with us and come play and participate with us. Get some cards, get some packs, grow teams, get your friends in here, get some guilds in here. There's still tons of opportunity. So welcome new guys. So Drewlongshot and 16-bit, thanks for being here. We got Knight and Philip, thanks for coming in and talking about your guild experience. And just generally, I'm grateful that this community makes it possible for us to do this. It's an honor to serve, an honor to do this, and it's honestly just a crap ton of fun. So I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate the company employees. What a difference that all makes. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye all.